Hi, I'm Bobby, and in today's video I'm going to be talking through my 2021 reading goals. So I posted my 2020 reading goals the other day, and I'll be honest, I really didn't stick to pretty much any of them. So this year, one of my main goals, although I haven't written as a goal, one of my goals is to actually stick to my goals this year, so I can actually feel some sense of achievement by the end of 2021. That would be good. Okay, so my first goal is my GoodReads reading challenge, and last year I set it at 50 books and then only read about 38. While I'm still under the belief that I probably won't beat 50 books this year, I would like to aim for 65. It's a bit of a challenge, but I also feel that if I put the effort in, I could actually achieve it. Like, it can't be that difficult, can it? I know I am capable of reaching 65 books, it's just a matter of actually putting in the time and the effort, and it really depends on how many reading slumps I have next year, because this year felt like nothing but reading slumps. My only good reading month this year was April, and maybe May, but there were 2 audiobooks in that month, so technically I wasn't reading, it was just listening. April was the only good reading month I had in 2020, and that was because I was off work all month and had nothing else to focus on. And I don't expect anything like that to happen in 2021, so my hopes aren't high for this reading goal. However, if I get 50, I'll be pleased. My second goal for 2021 is one that I've brought over from 2020, and that is to read one non-fiction book each month. I completely failed at this one in 2020. I did not read a single non-fiction book, and I feel that I need to actually put some effort into it this year. I don't know if I want to read non-fiction books because I actually want to educate myself, or if I feel pressured by the internet to start being more productive, or to seem like I'm being more productive by reading non-fiction books. I would like to try and read some non-fiction books this year, and if I read one a month, that would, be 12 more than I read last year. My third goal is another one that I brought over from 2020, and that is to read 6 classics this year. For this one, I am being more relaxed about this goal, because I know that I'm going to struggle with it. So I've decided that I'm going to choose a classic every other month and allow myself 2 months to complete each book. In 2020 I read one classic and a modern classic. Technically The Night Circus is a modern classic apparently, so kind of counts. But I read The War of the Worlds last year, and it was about 180 pages, but it took so long to read because I don't know if it was the old-fashioned writing, or the misogyny, or just really dense writing style. It just took me forever, okay? And if I consider reading Moby Dick or something this year, it will take me even longer. So I'm gonna be gentle with myself and allow myself 2 months per classic. My fourth goal should help me reach my GoodReads reading goal for the year, and that is to listen to one audiobook each month. I only listened to about 5 audiobooks in 2020, and I got a bit lax on using them over the past few months, so I want to try picking up on those again, and hopefully they will help me get to my reading goals for the year. Goal number 5 is another one from last year, and that is to read one ebook each month. I really want to make more use of my Kindle, although I have been using the app on my phone instead of my actual Kindle, but I do prefer using ebooks whilst commuting at the moment, and I would like to have one book that I can read on the train to work every month. My next goal isn't particularly a reading goal, but it is relevant to this channel, and that is to post one YouTube video each week. I started this channel towards the end of the summer this year, and in 2021 I want to be able to say that I posted on a consistent basis. Now, I haven't decided which day I particularly want to post it on, and I'm not even that concerned about posting on the same day each week. I just want to be able to say that I have consistently posted once a week for a whole year. This doesn't mean that I won't post extra videos if I have the time, but to make this goal easy for myself and so that I don't put too much pressure on myself, I'm just going to have the goal of 1 video per week. My next goal is a new one for this year, and that is to complete 3 series. I have quite a few series hanging over me at the moment where I have either just read the first book in the series or only read a couple, and I would like to be able to actually complete some series so that they are no longer on my mind and getting in the way of my other reading. I would also like to be able to reread the Tearling trilogy by Erica Johansson this year. So that is The Queen of the Tearling, Invasion of the Tearling, and Fate of the Tearling. Now, I read this trilogy a few years ago and I really enjoyed it, apart from the epilogue, but epilogues don't exist as far as I'm concerned. So it was a really good series and I'd like to revisit it, because I remember loving those characters so much, and it was just such a fun, interesting plot, and it was one of the books that really got me interested in fantasy fiction. I have also considered rereading the Lunar Chronicles series by Marissa Meyer, although this isn't such a priority for me, but I might just read the first one for fun. So a few weeks ago I posted a video of books that I did not finish, and my next goal is to complete as many of those books as possible, or at least attempt reading each of them and see if I actually want to put the time in to complete these books. A lot of these books I enjoyed while I was reading them, but then put down for one reason or another and never came back to them. So I'm thinking I'd like to give each one of them a chance and see, maybe I'll enjoy them this time, maybe I won't, but I'll either complete them or I will unhaul them, I think. And my 10th and final goal for 2021 is to go back to the list of 2020 priorities and to complete all of those books. I only finished 3 of the books from that list and I felt a little disappointed that I didn't put more effort into it. However, I have another chance this year, and with no particular pressure on it, I would just like to see if I can read any of these ones again. You'll see in a minute in this video that some of these books have made it onto my 2021 priority list. However, I would like to attempt reading each of the books from that list. So like I said, this year I have got another 12 books that I want to prioritise for the year. My plan is to choose one of these books to read each month, and that should hopefully help me to actually achieve completing this list. So a lot of these books are ones that I've had for quite a long time, but also quite a few of them are big chunky books that I have been intimidated by for a very long time. However, I'm really excited to read all of these books and I can't wait to start reading them. So let's get into the list. The first book on my list is one that was there last year, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I bought this book in beginning of 2019, 2018, whenever it came out, and I bought this book because of the hype. But then I got really put off by the 800 plus pages. So this is a fantasy story about dragons set in a world that is split into East and West, where one side is in favour of dragons and one side is completely against them. I also believe there is a queen involved who is quite important to this, but I don't really know a lot about the plot. I have heard so many good things about this story and I am so excited to get to it. I've tried reading it a couple of times and only got about 20 pages in, but it looks so good and I just want to read it, so I'm going to try and keep my excitement going for this book so I can actually put in the effort. I think it looks more intimidating because it's hardback and it makes it look bigger, because my next book is 1,000 pages and doesn't look quite so big. So the next book on my list is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke, and like I said, this book is just over 1,000 pages, but still it doesn't really look like it's going to be bigger than the 800-page book. But I think it's just the format. So this is another fantasy book about a world where magic seems to have been eradicated, but then they discover two men who, I don't know if they're studying magic or if they have magical powers, and they sort of get pitted against each other, and I feel like it's going to have some Night Circus vibes to it, because it's two magicians going against each other. Or also the Prestige vibes, because that was a great film, and it's also in my spoilers, it's one of the books on my list. I picked this book up early in 2020 because I heard Reagan at Priory's Project talking about it, and she read it and said that she really enjoyed it. And I've heard so many good reviews about this book as well, so I am really excited to read this book. It sounds like so much fun. I loved the Night Circus, that was so good, and I think this book has the potential for being just as good. The third book on my list is another one that was on the 2020 list, and that is Horns by Joe Hill. I mentioned this in the other video, but this is a horror thriller revenge story about a man who is punished by the devil and given ram's horns. But he is out for revenge for some people who attacked his girlfriend, I think, or his wife, or his sister. But he is out for revenge, and it sounds like it is going to be a lot of fun. As I said in the other video, this isn't a genre that I tend to go into too often, so I am a little intimidated by it, but I am also quite thrilled. I've had this book about 6 years, and it's about time I actually got to it, so this will be the year. The next book on my list is another one that I bought because of Reagan, and that is The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. This is a fantasy series. It's a long fantasy series. I think it's just been completed, but they're all long books, and it's about 5 or 6 books long, so that in itself is quite intimidating. So this fantasy is set in a world where magic is based on colours, and the more colours you can control, the more powerful you are, but also the more power you use, the quicker you'll die, which sounds quite good. It just sounds really fun, and I've had it so long. Look, I tried reading 100 pages from it. Ignore these post-it notes, they don't matter. I have a bookmark in here. I've tried reading 100 pages, and I put it down for some reason and then never picked it up again. But the pages that I did read were so good, and I can't wait to get back to this book. I'm going to try it again, and I'm sure I'm going to love it, and then I'll be in debt to the rest of the series. Book number 5 on my list is one that I have had for many years now, and that is Sabriel by Garth Nix. This is a fantasy book that I think I've owned for about 10 years now. It is set in a boarding school, and it follows a girl called Sabriel who is going on a quest to find her dad, who's gone missing. But the thing about Sabriel, she's a necromancer. It sounded really fun and interesting, and I think I will really enjoy the series. It is quite an old book, so the series is now complete, I believe, and so I have no reason not to get through the whole of it if I enjoy this one. So I'm quite looking forward to reading this book. Compared to the other books, it is really short. I think it's only about 300 and something pages, about 360 pages. So that will feel quite short in comparison to most of the books on this list. Book number 6 on my list is Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Grodin. I also bought this book because of Reagan at Priory's Project, and it just sounded like a lot of fun. She said she really enjoyed this story. It is set in the 1950s in a parallel world where Hitler won. Parallel world sounds so good! I love parallel worlds and alternate realities, that kind of thing. It sounds good. It follows a girl who has to take part in a motorcycle competition in order to get the chance to meet Hitler because she plans to kill him. I think it sounds so good. I can't wait to get to it. Oh my goodness. Why have I been putting this book off for so long? It sounds like fun. I'm so hyped for all of these books right now. So hyped. Book number 7 is The Prestige by Christopher Priest. I've seen the film of this several years ago and I loved it so much. It was great fun. It had Hugh Jackman in it. It was amazing. And I wanted to read the book to see how similar they were. I heard it's got a different ending, but I think it's going to be epic. It was such a weird film, and I hope the book has a lot of the same feelings about it. I've had this book for a couple of years. I was looking for it for ages in the shops, and then I couldn't find it, so I just asked for it for Christmas, and I got it. And yeah, I spent so long looking for it, and then just haven't read it, which is kind of silly, but it should be quite an easy read. I pretty much know the whole story, so it should be good. This follows 2 stage illusionists in the Victorian era, I believe? 19th century. 2 19th century stage illusionists who are sort of in a competition with each other to prove who's the best, and lots of chaos happens, lots of mystery surrounding it. It was a lot of fun in the film, and I think the book is going to be just as good, except without Hugh Jackman in it, so. Book number 8 on my list is another long fantasy, and that is The Lies of Lockemora by Scott Lynch. Now I know Reagan at Prue's Project has read this and she enjoyed it, but she wasn't the reason I chose this one. So that's something. So I first heard about this book when I was at university, and my lecturer was talking about it. She said it was really good, and I think it should be a lot of fun. It's a heist story following Lockemora and his gang, and it sounds like a lot of fun. I'm very interested in it. I don't know an awful lot about the plot, but heist stories are great fun. The Final Empire was fun, and that's basically what I'm going for. If it's like The Final Empire, I'll love it. Speaking of The Final Empire, my next book on my list is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is a sci-fi, but it's by Brandon Sanderson. So my friend read this, she said she loved it. Reagan read it, she said she loved it. I base most of my reading choices off Reagan's books, so there we go. It's a sci-fi, it's young adult. I think it's going to be so good. Like, if it's written as well as The Final Empire, I'll love it. The characters in The Final Empire are so good, and I'm expecting the same quality from this as well. So this book follows Spencer as she starts in pilot school, as in piloting spaceships. There's alien battles, there's space, and spaceships, and space travel. It sounds so good. But Spencer's dad has been labelled as a coward because he abandoned the fleet or something, and she's got a lot to live up to. She's got, like, she's already been set with a bad reputation from her dad, so she's got to, like, she's got to earn everything to be recognised and appreciated, and this book just sounds like fun. There's 2 books out in the series, there's a 3rd one coming out, like, 2021, 2022 or something. It should be a good series, and I'm really excited for it. Book number 10 on my list is a little bit different, and that is An Assassin's Guide to Love and Treason by Virginia Boecker. I haven't heard a lot about this book, but when I was looking through my books for this list, I read the synopsis and it sounded so interesting. It's a historical fiction about a woman who disguises herself as a man so she can join a Shakespeare play, so she can meet Queen Elizabeth and kill her. What? That just sounds like so crazy and so much fun. It sounds like completely bonkers, but I think I'm really going to love it. So I've never read a book by this author before, but it sounds like a lot of fun. The plot sounds so intriguing, and I am so excited for this. I don't read a ton of historical fiction, but this just sounds so good. I'm really excited. All these books sound so exciting, and I think I made a good selection this year. So the penultimate book on my list is The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. I've had this book for about 6 or 7 years now, and I don't know why I haven't read it. I believe it was quite popular at the time when I bought it, but I remember my grandma talking about this book, so it does remind me of her, and that gives it some sentimental value. So I think I actually want to get around to reading it this year. This is a historical fiction novel as well, and it is about a newlywed couple, and the husband buys his wife a miniature version of the new house they just moved into. And when I say miniature, I mean I think it says it's cabinet sized, so it's quite chunky. And then the wife hires a miniaturist to make all the furniture and the decorations and everything, make it look identical to their house. But then some mysterious things start happening. It sounds spooky and weird and so much fun, and it's so different to what I usually read that I think it'll make a nice change from all the fantasy. So yeah, I am quite looking forward to this book. And the final book on this list is one that I believe I mentioned in my Still Not Read Yet video, and that is The Binding by Bridget Collins. This book I bought when it first came out. I got it signed by the author and everything. I mean, I didn't meet the author, it came from the shop, signed by the author. But my friend and I sort of have an inside joke about this book because we both bought it when it first came out. We were both so excited about it, and then we never read it. So, I think this is going to be the year that I'm going to read it. I reread the synopsis recently, and it sounds so weird and fun. Everything sounds fun, but this sounds so weird and mysterious. This is set in a world where you can have your bad memories removed and stored in books. And then one day an apprentice bookbinder discovers a book with his own name on it. Like, he finds a book that's got one of his bad memories in it. He doesn't know he's had his memory taken because he'd forgotten about it. Would you open that book? Would you read the memory inside? I wouldn't. Don't want to remember it. If I didn't want to remember it, I wouldn't have taken it out of my brain. But it just sounds mysterious and curious and just so interesting. And I'm quite excited for this book. And it's actually about time I got to it. I don't know why I keep putting it off. It sounds exciting. So yeah, I'm hoping to read that this year. So those are all my goals and priority books for 2021. Hopefully I will do better this year than I did in 2020, but I guess we'll just have to see this time next year. I'm really excited for reading all of these books, and I really hope that I can achieve my goals, or at least get about halfway with them, which is, you know, more than I did in 2020. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below what your goals are for 2021, and if you've read any of the books I mentioned, tell me how you feel about them. If you enjoyed them, I'd love to hear about it. I've got all my social media down below if you're interested, and I'd love to hear from you. And I will see you very soon. Bye!